In this tutorial, we are going to be looking at constructing simultaneous equations, which can be found on page 7 of your notes. There are some steps that will help us solve worded problems with simultaneous equations. The first one is to read the questions really carefully and to highlight and write down any known information clearly. Identify the two unknown quantities that are to be found. If we're dealing with simultaneous equations or linear level, and particularly at this point, we'll only be dealing with two unknowns. Later we might be looking at more than two unknowns, and if that's the case, you need as many equations as you have unknowns. So if you're solving 3 or solving for 3 unknown quantities, then you would need 3 equations. So we're only dealing with 2 equations or 2 unknowns. You need to assign variables to these 2 quantities. Sometimes you'll be given variables, sometimes you need to assign them. So if none are given, you must assign. Try to form equations using these 2 quantities and other information that you've been given. Once you've got your equations, you can solve your system. You can solve them simultaneously. And then again, because this is a worded problem, you need to write a sentence answering the initial question. We're going to do this using the following challenge question, which is basically a short answer question. Let's go through this. The Nats have announced their new concert tour. There will be 2 types of ticket available. Highlighter out. A tickets, or Series A tickets, reserved for a small area in front of the stage. And then we've also got Series B tickets, which is just your general admission. Part A says if the band sells 100 Series A tickets and 13,000 Series B tickets, in total they're going to earn 865,000. The first step here is to write an equation that represents this situation. Because I've been told that they're A tickets and B tickets, they've already been labelled for me. So my quantities or my variables have been labelled. I do not need to relabel them. I'm just at this point writing an equation. It's a very easy equation. We've got 100 A tickets. So 100 lots of A, 100 lots of A, plus we're also told 13,000 lots of B. In total, once they've sold all those tickets, they will earn 865,000. That is equation 1 and whale box. 1 mark for 1 equation. It goes on to say, if they sell 150 Series A, so Series A in green, 14,500 Series B tickets, they will earn 972,500. We need to write an equation to represent this scenario. This is just like the previous one. We have 150 A plus 14,500 B, which will give us 972,500. That's all this question's asking for. Box your answer. 1 equation, 1 mark. C is where we're going to do a little bit more working. We know this because, well, read the question or read the marks. If we have to do 3 marks worth of questions, then we're doing a little bit more than just writing 1 equation. In fact, it asks us to find out the price of each type of ticket. Well, we have 2 equations with 2 unknowns, so we can solve them simultaneously. Now, I'm going to use the method of elimination. Method. Elimination. If you can't remember how to use elimination, please go back a few tutorials where we go over that. In order to do this, I'm going to label my equations back up here. I've got equation 1 and equation 2. To use elimination, I have to have either the variable in front of A or the variable in front of B. They have to be the same. So, for instance, here I've got 100 and 150, so they're not the same. Or I've got 13,000 and 14,500, so they're not the same either. For me to be able to use elimination, I have to be able to add or subtract the equations and get rid of the unknown. In order to do this, I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 1.5. Multiplying equation 1 by 1.5 will give me out 150a, which is perfect. Once I've done that, I can actually minus equation 2. What I'll have there is 150a minus 150a, which will remove the a. Once I've done that, I'm going to try to find b. So I'm doing a few steps here in one, but I'll walk you through each part of these steps, or every part of these steps. So 1 times 1.5. So we start with 100a. 100 times 1.5 will give me 150a. I'm going to add this to 13,000 times 1.5, which is 19500, so 19,500. Lots of b. This is equal to 865,000 times 1.5, which will give us 1,297,500. That is 1 times 1.5. We're going to subtract equation 2. Equation 2 won't change, it's just what we had above. This calculation is what we're up to now. 150a minus 150a is 0a, so I'm not going to write anything down at all. 19,500b minus 14,500 is going to leave me with 5,000b. 1,297,500 minus 972,500 will leave me with 325,000. Solving for b, so I'm going to just divide by 5,000. This will leave me with 65. So the price of the Series B ticket is $65. To find A, we need to take our solution for B and substitute it in. So we're going to sub B equals 65 into, it doesn't matter which equation, I'm just going to go into equation 1, and I'm going to solve for A. This will give me 100A plus 13,000 lots of 65 is equal to 865,000. That equation 1 is my equation 1 from right back up at the start, not my altered equation, it's this one in here. When I simplify this a little bit, I'm going to get 100A plus 845,000, which is equal to 865,000. Subtracting that 845,000 from both sides is going to leave me with 20,000. Divide by the 100 and I will have 200. This means that Series A ticket will cost $200. In any worded question, we end by writing a worded solution. Series A tickets cost $200. Wow. Series B tickets cost $65. Put a box around that, and we're complete. Again, we have just gone over the steps that are at the top here. We've highlighted the appropriate content. We've identified the two unknown quantities that we want to find. The variables were already assigned. We did form two equations as part A and part B. We found two equations. We solved those, and then we wrote a sentence to answer the initial question. That is constructing simultaneous equations. The next tutorial will go over using and transposing formulas.